Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and I am here with part 1 of the Simon Says monthly card kit for July 2018. Well, we're still in the month, so we're good. But you can see the wonderful stamp set. You could have a lot of fun with this. Lots of stickers, great cardstock, the glitter paper, the Sizzix double-sided foamed thing, whatever you want to call that. So we're going to start playing with this. So what also came in the card kit was a die, and the die actually matches the flamingo stamp. I also wanted to give this double-sided foam square thingy, whatever we wanted to call it, that you could run through your machine and see how that worked. I used it with the glitter paper just to cut one of the flamingos out. Now what's great with the die is it is embossing as well. So I thought that was great. You can see me here fiddling around trying to get that piece out. What I will say about this stuff is it is extremely sticky. And you'll see what I mean. So I grabbed some cardstock from my stash, and again, I have this accordion folder that I store it all in. I dug through that for some grays and blacks. Have you noticed that with every 10 card one kit, I do have a black and white or a gray and black thing going on here? Yeah, it's something that I do. So I've cut some out of the gray, I've cut some out of the black, and I'm just placing them down on my card base. Now I used my, I believe it's my Lawn Fawn Stitch rectangle die. I just don't have the cards in front of me. But I believe that is the one that I used. And what I'm doing is I'm just positioning them around, and we're going to start gluing them down at this time. Very sporadic. I'm creating a background with my cardstock die cuts. As they're being placed around, I'm going to then focus on the center of the card while that dries. Of course, I'm going to trim off the edges. And you know what? Now that I'm seeing that panel close up, I did not use any frame die. I just cut that base to be 4 inches by 5 1/4. I grabbed one of my stamp positioners, and of course I needed to use the sentiment, be a flamingo in a flock of pigeons. So I've set that up. And I'm going to use one of Gina K Ink's Passionate Pink. Again, when I'm starting to stamp on the inside more and more. But I'm finding when I do, now I didn't want to do that with this sentiment because it is a rather large sentiment. But I'm usually using the same color as the cardstock. Now, of course, if it's white, no, I'm not going to use white. But especially if it's a colored cardstock, or I may use a second generation for the inside. Now you can see that when I did that, it hooked onto the flamingo, and now the flamingo is stuck on my finger. I was able to remove it from the front, but it's very good adhesive that's on both sides of that foam. So kudos, very much kudos, because you'll watch, I have to really get my finger off the backside of that. But you know it won't go anywhere, which is awesome, because that is something, of course, that we do worry about when we mail our cards. I mean, to me, it's like a puzzle then, if it should happen. So that was our first card. For card 2, I wanted to play around with some of the stickers. I've put them on some white cardstock. I'm going to fussy cut them out, just so, because I wanted them to have that white border. These stickers are actually clear. So when you peel them off, they will take the background around the edge of what cardstock you put them on. I did use my Lawn Fawn for the background of those circles, retro circles there, and I did use my Lawn Fawn Stitch Rectangle for the smaller white panel that I'm going to put these florals on. I chose the sentiment Sunshine on My Mind, and I'm going to set that up in the center, at the top of this because the flowers are going to be towards the bottom of that panel. I'm going to prop the larger floral up using some foam squares. And then once that's adhered down onto the panel, I'm then going to glue the two pink flowers up underneath it. So again, you can have that dimension. Sometimes when I'm doing this, if I'm doing florals and there are die cuts, I will sometimes place my propped up ones first, and then I will put the leaves in underneath because I'm not quite sure where they are. You can't either way. So, you know, keep that in mind. It's just something that I find I do. I'm going to use my tape runner to adhere this down. I'm okay that they're running off the edge. I did not want to trim them. Figured it would help them to stand out just a little bit more against the pattern paper. It is a little busy, but I really do think that the flowers do pop out because of the white panel that I put on the inside of it. It helps to break up that pattern paper just a little bit. Lots of glue dots are going to be put onto those florals and also coming up off of them. I wanted to use the sequins that came in the card kit because they were very different in color. It was almost like an iridescent orange and yellows. So they were really, really pretty. So I wanted to make sure that they accented the flowers. For the third card, I pulled out my Artezas. I hadn't used these in a while. My other ones are buried because I am still putting my room together at this time. So we're kind of like hoping I have everything. I'm going to use the watermelon stamp. So I stamped 2 in the VersaFine and I stamped 1 with the Versamark. So this is on Bristol paper because the real brush pens, whether it's the Zig or the Artezas, do work best on Bristol. I stamped 2 in the VersaFine black and I stamped 1 in the Versamark clear. For the black ones, I used a clear embossing powder, and for the one with the Versamark ink, I used gold. So I wanted one to stand out. I'm going to real quick, I have this panel and I used My Favorite Things Wonky Stitch Rectangle. Yes, it's still my favorite. I've pulled out my Nuvo blending brushes and 2 of my Gina K inks, one in Jelly Bean Green and the other in Red Velvet. And I just want to put a little bit of ink on the background. Just a touch. So, and that's what the brushes are good for. There's all kinds out there. I just really like the Nuvos because they're big. They can cover a best area. Just know it's not going to be solid. I'm setting in, when it comes to my stamp positioners now, I use Fun Foam. I was pointing to it. I was watching a video, and I know if you've seen my other ones, I've mentioned this a couple times, but I like to give credit. And when it's a good tip, it's a good tip. This is it. Bibi Cameron. If you haven't checked out her channel, I will link to her channel below. She uses Fun Foam in it. Now, when you do that, you want to make sure that for the Tim Holtz stamp positioner, you change it to rubber stamps. I'm getting, again, I said it before, I am not doing stamp CPR anymore. I'm using a light touch and I'm getting better stamping. So for me, it works. It's a great tip. You can see I really zoomed in and I really sped this up. So because I wanted to show you the coloring of one. So these, I kind of work the same way as what we color with everything. I'm laying down my dark color first. I'm coming in with my second color just to blend that out. I'm coming in with my third color then on top of that just to blend that out. I am leaving some white and I'm going to come in with my aqua brush. What I'm showing there is I really do like the Artezas. I think they are good quality for the price. If you're looking to try them, these are the ones to give it a try. Then you can move into the Zigs. What frustrates me though sometimes is the tips of the brushes do not come to a point, but I've only had that happen with a handful. I just trim them up, get the point back. So that's my only complaint, and to me that's not a complaint to not purchase them. If you want, I'll also link down to the review that I did with those if you're interested to have more information with them. So I fussy cut out my watermelons now that we're back to my normal speed. That was like really quick there. I placed 2 up in the corners, the one with the black embossed, and then the one with the gold emboss, I'm setting that down towards the bottom because it says you're one in a melon. So I had to have that one stand out just a little bit. I did prop them up with some foam squares just to give it some dimension. I'm going to adhere this down with my tape runner and set that down on my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 top folding card bases. It is very rare that I use anything other than that. So usually when you do see my cards, they are an A2 card, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, 9 out of 10 a top folding, sometimes a side folding. I pulled out a couple of my Nuvo drops. This, I believe, is key lime. I am gently tapping the card because that helps to level out my Nuvo drops. Sometimes they get thicker. I don't know if there's a lifespan on these. If somebody knows, please let me know. But I do find that some of them get very thick. So by tapping them, it kind of levels them out so I don't have that point. The other color that I used is strawberry. And they're from the Jewel collection. So for the 4th card, again, I wanted to play with some of the stickers. Again, I'm not a sticker person. For my planner, yes. For my cards, no. But these were cute stickers. It was great that they were clear. You can see I'm going with the Crafty. I pulled the sewing machine, the measuring tape, and the spool of thread. I used the Crafty sentiment, and I've put that straight down on a piece of vellum. Again, you're actually seeing a full process going on here. I decided to take the hello sentiment, put that on the white cardstock as well. I'm going to use my scalloped border from Lawn Fawn to cut out my Crafty sentiment. And now I'm going to fussy cut all of these elements, whether it's this hello sentiment or whether it's the little tiny crafty pieces that I have there. I turned the hello into a banner, a side banner. That I should have done that. It's funny, I'm watching my videos trying not to laugh at myself, but the moment I saw that Crafty go right on top of that hello, that is exactly what I should have done instead of what I did. But again, it's not worthy of throwing the card out. We don't do that. We just keep going. It's just a different way. And sometimes, when you look back, you're like, I should have done that. In my case, I think, what the heck was I doing here? This was not one of those moments, but it was I really like that look. So maybe we'll see that in another card. I'm just going to use very small liquid glue dots behind the Crafty letters, and I'm going to tuck that right up underneath the hello banner that I used my vintage photo ink to ink around that. The paper's very vintage, so I didn't want that the bright white to come across. So even though these images are on white cardstock, it's a small area. You will find that, yes, I did forget to ink around the edges before placing them on my card design base, but I do go back and put in the vintage photo. So never fear, it does happen. Once I have the sewing machine in place to where I want it, I'm going to then set the other 2 pieces, the tape and the thread, down directly onto the design panel. And now I'm going to set the sewing machine because I want that propped up. Once that is set in place, you will find here comes the vintage photo. And I'm just lightly going around the edges. You don't need much when it comes to the vintage photo. But again, it does take away the stark white. and I didn't want all of that there. I trimmed off the edges, and I'm going to use my tape runner to adhere this to my these are the pre-made cards that I'm using. Yeah, notice I said 4. They are still 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but they are pre-scored to be a side folding card. So usually not the way that I put mine together, but they are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. They're very strong too. I really like them. Those are the ones that came in the kit as well. I grabbed my Spectrum Noir glitter pen, and I'm just going over the light tan planks on this paper. I wanted them to have a little bit of sparkle, just to make the wooden pieces pop out. That is our 4th card. So for our 5th card, again, I did use my Artezas again, showing that I used a yellow, an orange, or a yellow, a golden yellow, and an orange. And again, to save time, I am going to have pieces colored or die cut, because these videos tend to get a little bit long. So I'm putting my piece into my stamp positioner, my base. I did use my Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle for that, and I want to stamp the sentiment, wishing you a happy birthday. I'm going to use my tape runner once that's dry to adhere that onto my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 side folding. Yes, I threw the card because it just flew out of my hand. It was excited to get on the card base, I guess. I don't know. It's something I'm doing in every video. I don't know. Nikki, don't say a word. You know who you are. Just don't. So I'm going to position the fish into place. Now note too, when I did color my fish, I did not use an aqua brush. I went straight with the pens. So I let the pens do the blending, and I really liked it. Again, they were done and stamped on Bristol paper. Because again, the real brush pens, whether the Artezas or the Zigs, do blend better on the Bristol paper. I adhered 2 straight down onto the base. I made sure that they went off of the edge. Again, it adds movement, at least that's what I think, to the card. And then the last fish, the middle one, I actually propped that using some foam squares. I'm going over the fish with my Spectrum Noir glitter pen just to add some glitter. And I did also add some glitter to the dark blue line that's going through the water paper. I grabbed my black glaze gel pen just to darken their eyes. And then once that was dry, I went in with some white to give them the highlight. I pulled out my Pretty Pink Posh dewdrops. I have both of the sizes, and those are going to be my bubbles through the water and coming from the fish. So I'm using my wax pencil. That's what I use for my sequins and my drops. Now you can see they look white. Trust me, when the glue dries, they go clear, and it looks awesome. It looks absolutely fantastic. So those were our cards for part 1 of the Simon Says July 2018 card kit. I hope you enjoyed it. These are the close-ups of the cards that we made today at regular speed, so you can see all the details, or maybe see a little tiny bit of boo-boos. Boo-boos are okay. Again, we are not Hallmark. It would be nice, but our cards are more special. All the products that I used outside of the video will be linked down below if you would like to check them out. If you have a question or a comment, please don't hesitate to leave those down below as well. I will get back to you as soon as I can. I do try to answer all of my comments on my YouTube channel. I think it's a good place for us to interact and to make sure that I do answer. So please don't be offended if you're on my blog or if you're somewhere else and you ask me a question. Come here and ask me that question. You do not have to be a subscriber. I will answer your question. Somebody did ask me that actually. But I would love for you to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any of the other videos that will be coming out. We have a great time here. We laugh and we joke all throughout the video. So I am pretty funny. I laugh at myself. I hope everyone's having a great day and a wonderful weekend. But always remember what's most important to me every day. Always be creative.